Okay. Cheers.
Cheers.
This is in celebration of our second episode of Essentials Roundtable. Welcome, everybody. I'm Megan Edge, master healer, author, and alchemist.
Ooh.
I'm thinking of adding alchemist to my
I like it.
my bio line.
I like it.
Because of all the witchy brewing that I do.
You are an alchemist.
Thank you.
That would be a good ad.
I think so. I think it'd be a good conversation starter, too.
Really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is my amazing co-host, Susan Seal. What would you follow your name with?
I don't know.
Well, certified aromatherapist.
Well, I do a lot of things.
You do a lot of things.
So, yeah, I think people think of me as a music teacher, mostly music and movement. People who know me. People who don't know me, I usually introduce because I'm shifting a bit. As I do feng shui, I do energy healing, I do the oils, aromatherapy, and I do healing, special healing work called Aroma Freedom Technique, which uses the oils to shift traumatic memory from one part of the brain to the other. So it's very cool. I do a few things. So
you do many things.
I do many things, yes.
I feel like it would not be inappropriate to follow your name with master healer.
Oh, cool. Okay, we'll do that today.
Okay. Susan Seal, master healer. Aromatherapy artist.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah. I'm excited for today's show.
Me too.
We're going to be talking about the history of some of these oils, well, all the oils, and how is it that we lost the knowledge about natural medicine, and now it's coming back. I mean, it's been coming back for a long time. I would say since the 40s even, certainly 60s and 70s, the rise of the health food store, of people wanting more than what they were getting, or less of what they were getting, depending on what it was. This, with the oils, this is something new and different in terms of a movement.
A modern essential oil movement.
A modern essential oil movement, that's right. And we're using oils in a different way than our ancestors did, because we have different technology. We have different ways that we can pull the oils out. And at the same time, a lot of those processes are the same ancient processes.
Yes.
Steam distillation, pressing the oils out, whatever those techniques are, those are the same. We're using the same techniques that people used 10,000 years ago to work with these medicines. And so that's something that I'm excited for us to talk about today.
Nice.
And share with people, as well as a couple of oils that we've chosen for today's show, frankincense and myrrh. And we'll be sharing the information about that. And then whatever else shows up, because that's how these shows are going to roll.
They do. They roll.
Whatever else shows up. Whatever stories we have.
Yes.
Yeah. And what did we put in our water?
Well, I have lemon in mine.
And I have lemon and lime in mine. And it's so
Very
good.
tasty.
Yeah.
It's really good for your systems.
Totally good for your systems. I'm looking forward to when we do a special on the citrus oils.
That would be fun.
And this is one of the ways that you can get the oils into your body.
Yes.
A drop or two in your glass.
Yep.
And so many of the oils you can do this with.
Yep. It's true.
Not cinnamon or clove, though.
Well, they're a little hot.
They're a little hot.
You could use them in baking.
Oh, totally, you
like
can.
in making a pumpkin pie.
Of course,
or something like that. But some oils are just easier to ingest if you're having them in water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll share my cinnamon story.
So I'd love to hear your cinnamon story.
So I referenced this last
Yes,
episode,
okay.
so I was going to share this. Okay. So I'm setting out a romantic bath. This was years ago when I was in university. And I've got the candles lit.
see it coming.
And the music. And I've got the bath all set up with bath salts and essential oils. And it's a Valentine's Day bath. And I invite my partner into the bathroom. And we get into the tub. And we're oogling each other. Oh my God, this is so romantic. This is so... Ow! Ow! What the... Did you feel that? It felt like we were being attacked by fire ants.
Oh,
Every single place
Shouldn't laugh.
that a little tiny drop, tiniest little pearl of the oil landed on our skins, burned our skin.
Oh my gosh.
Now, this was 30 years ago, so I'm sure the oil that I was using was not a Young Living oil. And it probably may not have been a very high quality oil. Who knows what else was in it?
But even if it were,
But even if it were,
well, you don't put cinnamon in your mouth, right?
You do not. So needless to say, the evening was not the one that I had been hoping for or planning for. And I never forgot it. I learned my lesson about cinnamon.
I'll never forget it now.
No, I know, it's
a great story.
It's quite the visual.
It was a hot night.
Think of all the places that water goes in a bathtub, I'm just saying.
Yes.
Yes.
All the sensitive places.
All the sensitive
Oh my
places.
gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So back to today's show.
Yes.
Let's talk about these oils and what's so wonderful, amazing, and even simple and accessible about them. How is it that they're back in our lives?
Gary Young is considered the father of the modern essential oils movement because it's really through his extreme efforts that we have them in our everyday life. And there are lots of companies now who kind of have hopped on the train, and so they're everywhere. So it's awesome, right? It's awesome. But he also was someone who modernized the distilling equipment. He actually climbed into a machine to see what was happening while it was being while there was distillation going on, so he could see how can I make it better.
Wow.
And so other companies now use those changes in their equipment because it is better.
It is better, yeah.
And now we have computers that analyze the oil, the resins, whatever, from the distillations and tell us if it's what are the therapeutic properties and constituents of those oils. We didn't have that years and years ago.
That's right.
That is a modern thing.
Yeah.
And that helps us to decide, oh, we need to harvest that plant now. Or this isn't going to work for that condition. It doesn't have enough of whatever in it.
Yeah. And in a way, it's an imperfect science in that there's so many complexities when you're harvesting the material in and of itself to create an essential oil. Whether it's a flower oil, or it's from a seed, or it's from bark, or it's from twigs, or whatever the root, whatever part of the plant it's coming from, it matters what time of the year it is, where in the growing cycle the plant is, what time of day it is, even when these oils rise in the plant and when they come back in the plant. And what we understand about these oils is that their purpose for the plant is for protection, for strengthening, or for attracting different predators or not attracting the predators, but attracting the
so the oils that are coursing through the plant
right.
have a protection purpose or have an attraction purpose.
That's right.
And that gives them certain properties.
Yes. Yeah. And the plant uses those oils for its own needs, which has nothing to do with us.
No, nothing.
At all. So our understanding is around when is the plant using those oils for optimum efficiency for the plant, and then how do we harness that optimum efficiency for our use. And one of the things I love about how the Gary Young Foundation has gone about all of this is not only in learning that information and understanding it, but finding ways of sustaining the plant even while we are harvesting and harnessing the medicine of the plant.
Yes. So the company they're just so knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Right. They are a farming company.
Yeah.
So their main purpose is to make sure they're sustainable, and they can keep doing that so that we can keep having these wonderful medicines and products. And
how many oils does Young Living have right now?
Do you know? I don't know the exact number, but
it changes all the time.
Because they always have new ones, but I think it's around 200.
I think so.
Yeah.
And in Canada we have 100.
I'd have to actually go look that up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We can find the information. We'll post it.
They have many, many single oils, and they have the largest number of blends of all the companies for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are lots of companies with lovely blends, but these are the ones that I use, and they seem to work for me.
Yeah.
So.
Specifically, these are pure essential oils.
Yeah,
there's no fillers.
Sometimes companies, what they do because it costs a lot of money to grow a product, and if you're not using chemical like toxin or synthetics on your farm, you're doing everything by hand, or you're using essential oils to get rid of pests or whatever they're doing. It costs more.
Yeah. Well, it costs more for those reasons, and also because these bottles that we're showing today, all of them, unless it says specifically that there is a carrier oil in it.
Oh,
this
okay, that's
is
what I was
pure,
getting to. Some companies,
100% pure oil.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, some companies, when they do their harvest, in order to bulk up the harvest,
Yeah.
they add things to the oil. So it's not actually just the plant oil.
Yeah.
It's got other things in it.
That's right.
And
And
that's
adulterated.
Adulterated. And lavender is one of those oils that's remarkably bad for that. And you will notice, I often sit down with people, they bring their oils, and I bring my Young Living oils, and we compare.
Mm-hmm.
And people are always like, oh my gosh, that's really different. I didn't think it would be so different.
Yeah.
And they'll switch out every time because you can feel it in your body. If you're already using oils, you will feel the difference.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not, you should just start with that.
Yeah, start with the
why would
best.
you-
Start with the best.
Yeah.
Well, how historically, I know we found oils that have been distilled in some of the tombs of the pharaohs, the king's tombs, the queen's chambers. We find residue of plant extracted oils as far back as Mesopotamia, Syria. Cultures all around the world understand about these medicines and have found ways to extract the goodness out of the plants and then be able to use them for ourselves. I feel like we've been in relationship with plants for our entire evolution.
Yes, of course.
There are brain receptors in our brains that are specifically designed to grab these molecules when they come into our system.
Yes.
We've grown up with these.
Yeah, they're natural, like we are. Like yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and then when we look at the historical use of oils and who got to use those oils as a demonstration of the value that different cultures have placed on oils, we can begin to really understand how potent these medicines are. And at the time, if you think about the medieval times, like we talked about the plague last episode, and there were two huge plagues that swept through Europe, the bubonic and the black plague, and took out vast populations of people. The medicines that were available at the time were these kinds of medicines.
But people didn't have them.
A lot of people didn't have them.
Yes, because they were living more in cities.
Well, some people did have them, even
Yes,
at the lowest level.
But
But the purest oils would be only available to people who had the money to buy them.
if you lived on a farm, you would have access to this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But we didn't have all these plants everywhere. Like these are oils from all over the world.
Yes, that's right.
So,
yeah.
You wouldn't have had frankincense in London.
Not unless it was imported.
You wouldn't have had it in Canada. Like in that, well, it wouldn't have been called Canada then, but you wouldn't have had those. Like we now have access to these tools or products or oils.
No, but then there was a thriving spice trade.
Yes.
Herb trade, and these were medicines, recognized as medicines as well when they were used in different ways. So it may not be native to an area, but certainly across Europe, Africa, Arabia, that whole huge spice trading route, these precious spices were valued for their scarcity.
But, I think it's the church.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry, because I agree with you.
I think what happened was there were people who wanted to have a lot of power, and so the one way to have power is to control things like medicines. Where before everyone had it, we had medicine men and shamans and
wise women and
herbalists. When you go to places where the church wasn't, they still had this. They still had the natural medicines and the natural healing.
Yeah.
Sad, but true.
It's sad, and it is true, and there's a very dark area of our history, European history,
and of course it
called the
impacted
Inquisition.
women so much.
Exactly. Yeah.
And with your background in a degree in women's studies, you have studied this.
I have studied this extensively because it's an area of our history that I think it's really important for us to know happened and to understand the reverberations of the Inquisition, the impact that had.
Well, I feel like, having done studies with you, I knew a lot of this, but I don't think I realized how much of that I hold in my own body and in my own experience, and how much our world has been shaped by it in these subtle ways where I don't think we know. Like, we can talk about it, but until you actually visit your own experience and your own fears and your own doubts and all, when you actually
Yeah.
take a look at that and you heal that,
Yeah.
everything changes.
Yeah.
And you start to see when people are trying to control you, and simple things like, I don't want the flu shot.
Yeah.
It makes me sick. And everyone gets the flu shot, and I will get sick. I had it once. I was sick for so many months, and not able to work. It's an interesting thing. I think modern medicine has so much to offer us.
Yes.
And you need to use it.
Yes.
But there are other ways.
Yeah.
To keep yourself healthy.
Right.
So, there's this saying of staying above the line. So this is a tool that can help you stay above that wellness line.
Yeah.
Because if you go really down below it, modern medicine is really good to help you often.
Modern medicine is excellent
Save your life.
as a reactive
Yes.
response to an immediate and emergency situation. And it has saved my life many times. I've had 17 surgeries in my life. A few of those I wasn't going to come back from, but I did. My intention is about building these bridges between modern medicine and what we currently call alternative or metaphysical medicine, but really that's the original medicine. This is the original medicine. Modern medicine has come out of that, but modern medicine's past is pretty murky and not always a pretty picture.
That's true.
And a lot of what modern medicine has come out of is a very steeped patriarchy, a belief that men are superior to women in all things, including health and wellness and nutrition.
It's still there.
It's still there. Absolutely, it's still there. It's shifting, it's changing
Yeah,
as more and more women
Of course.
go into medicine. But even when you look at that, how many nurses are female? How many doctors are male? How many surgeons are male? How many surgeons are female? There's a discrepancy for sure. But more than that, when we go back and we look at the history of how did it get to a point where midwifery was illegal and women were tortured, killed, imprisoned for helping their sisters give birth.
And the effects of that, they do still they live in our everyday lives.
It's everywhere.
It is. And I don't, again, we talk about it, but when you actually pay attention to it, all you have to do is talk about more natural ways of healing, and you will have people come at you with, this can't be good. And yet it can be better than anything.
Yeah. And that's part of why we're doing this series, why we're doing this show, because we want to help people understand in a really gentle, although sometimes fierce ways, because it matters to us that the people around us are healthy. We could just keep this to ourselves.
Well,
we couldn't.
Not?
I mean, you and I couldn't, but
probably not.
Probably not. But that's an option. I was thinking about this morning when we were getting ready for this show. I could just keep these oils for me and my family, and just keep me and my family safe and healthy, and not share with anybody, not tell them why we didn't get the cold this year,
and not take
or
the
flu
risk
this year.
of people actually being negative toward you just by sharing, and not in a harsh or intense way, but just sharing.
Yeah. I could do that, except that I can't.
Yeah.
Because when I find something that works for me and I have an amazing experience with it, the first thing that I want to do is share it with others. And I'm grateful that I live in a country and a culture and a time where so far I can do that. No one's banging on my door and confiscating my essential oils.
I know.
As contraband, because it's not big pharma, or we're not there. I hope we never ever get there. So I have a freedom to do something like this, like you and I sit down and have this conversation and share with everybody else. I have the freedom to offer these oils to my clients, create special blends for them that help them on their journey.
Me too.
I get to learn, the information about the science behind these oils, about the ways in which these oils are medicine, how people are learning how to dose with essential oils for things like MARS and ARDS and all the other, those big diseases and afflictions that are hitting people in the hospitals. That information is available, and we have the freedom to do that research. That's why this is coming back. That's why this is the right time for this movement, this essential oils movement. And thank goodness for Gary Young and all the other pioneers who have been working.
Well, and all the scientists now, that this company is huge. They have a whole building dedicated to the science.
Yeah.
They have scientists that work full time.
Yeah.
Researching, understanding. Yeah.
So for anyone who's not familiar with the Inquisition, if this is a new concept for them or new information, it's also known as the Burning Times, and it's about 300 years, 400 years of primarily European history, but it did spread over most of Europe. Most of Europe was affected by this, on the heels of the plague. So we had the plague. Interestingly, more women survived the plague than men did. It's really a no-brainer when you think about it. If women are on the front lines of looking after their children and looking after their families and doing most of the cooking, then they're working with these herbs and these oils all the time. So their immune system is already going to be stronger. And then we just did, for whatever reason, women survived. And once you survive the plague, you're immune to it.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
At least that version.
Right.
There's the plague is still on the planet. It's still affecting people, and it's changing like all the viruses do. But the result of that is that when you looked at European society after the plague, there were more women landowners, more women business owners, more women entrepreneurs and merchants and bankers, and any job, any role that had been predominantly male or was run by the husband of the family or the father of the family now fell to the women. That meant women had power. And I know this sounds conspiracy theory, but when you look at it,
Oh, it's just a fact.
it's just a fact.
Yes.
It just makes sense. So you've got this powerful entity called the church, and by that point it was the infrastructure was in everything. And the church traditionally likes land and money. No matter whatever the good deeds they're doing, it's a business to a certain extent. So
well, it's not the spiritual. The church has there's kind of two sides to
Yes.
it, right? There's that whole spiritual part, and
yeah,
we love that, the worshiping. But then there's, like
It's
you
a
say,
business.
the business part.
yeah.
Yeah, that is different.
So what's a great way that you could undermine these new wealthy women that would ensure that medical information that they had, any other empowerment information that they had, was taken away and lost from them, and that properties could then be given over to the church? They came up with the Inquisition.
Nice.
So Donna Reed, who's a Canadian documentary filmmaker, has a beautiful series called Goddess Remembered, The Burning Times, and Full Circle. And we'll put the link in the video so that people can go and watch and make up their own mind. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking
education
about it today,
is-
but education, right? And that's what we want
These
to be
aren't
doing.
things that we actually learn in school.
They aren't things we learned in school. We didn't even learn about the suffragette movement.
No, I
about
know.
women's rights. I mean, all that kind of stuff. So we'll put the link in so people can go and they can watch those documentaries themselves and learn what it is that we're talking about. In the meantime, those wounds that we're carrying in our DNA, in our cellular memory, in our generational memories can be healed using, in part, some of these beautiful oils that we're sharing with people.
More empowered you get to look after yourself using natural things.
Yeah. Because these oils they affect us at the physical level, but they also affect us at the emotional level.
Absolutely.
In fact, that's one of their primary
All you have to
uses.
do is walk into a forest.
Yeah.
And just feel the energy from the trees and from the ground.
Yeah.
And, sit by the sea. You can feel that.
Snip this one again.
And just being in the forest, right? So this is a way to bring that.
Some of that black.
Oh, some spruce forest.
I know. It's beautiful. I love the tree oils. I'm excited for when we do a series on
Tree oils.
We'll do the herbal oils, the citrus oils, the tree oils, the flower
Okay,
oils.
I'm in.
We're going to do it all. Today, let's share the 2 oils that we're featuring for today's show.
I have myrrh, and it's so sticky, so thick. I can't even pour it out. I have to take
That's a great one to dilute, to be able to use it easier.
You only need 1 drop.
Yeah.
And it's great to use in any kind of lotion or anything for your skin, your face or your body. And it's well known for the health of the gums, to use it in dental things.
Okay.
Yeah. So even doing oil pulling. Have you heard of oil pulling?
I have. I haven't tried it yet.
Oh, I used to do it all the time. I went off a while back. But you take like a tablespoon of oil, put it in your mouth, let it melt, and swish it around. So adding clove and myrrh to that, would really enhance the detoxifying effects.
It sure would.
There are people who are having to have dental surgery, and when they do oil pulling, before they don't need the dental surgery. Like, it's very healing for your gums. Yeah.
I just had an aha moment. Okay, so As you know, recently my father passed away
Yes.
back in September.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. And it was a horrific experience to go through because he wasn't meant to die and all that other kind of good stuff.
It was bad.
It was bad. The thing that I noticed, one of the many things I noticed when I was going to him in the hospital and working with him with the oils and sneaking in my diffuser and all the other things I was doing, his breath was totally fine. And my dad, bless him, had awful.
Was it from
breath.
rubbing his feet with the oils?
Yes, I think it was. I just made that connection.
Wow.
Because when he was in the hospital, he did not have the it was gingivitis or whatever else those gum things are, and there's a very specific smell that comes out of someone's mouth who has that. And I've been racking my brain trying to figure out what was it about being in the hospital,
Other than not eating.
other than not eating, that caused his breath to be perfectly fine. And it just hit me.
Because he wasn't brushing his teeth every day, was he?
Certainly not when he was in a coma.
No.
No. And
I
that's
don't
when
know.
in fact, his whole body, I mean, that's when you would expect. And I've come up, I mean, I've known people who've been very, very ill. And your body does give off a particular
does.
smell when somebody is very ill. His didn't. And the nurses kept coming in and saying, oh my God, his room smells so amazing. I feel so good when I'm in his room. What are you doing?
Well, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
Of nurses, when these oils are brought into the hospital, how happy it makes the nurses, because everything does smell good. And of course, the energetic impact of the oils, it goes beyond just putting it on your body, right?
Yeah.
That olfactory is primal
That's
in our
right.
body system. So you can make a huge change in your well-being just through smelling something.
So anyone who is having issues with their breath, and that can be very socially debilitating,
Yes.
to know that you've got bad breath.
I love this one.
Even rubbing them on your feet, that's what I was doing for my father. And I was using the antibacterial, antibiotic oils specifically
Oh, okay.
for his system because of what he was being attacked by.
Right.
And one of the benefits could have been the fact that it was working.
Right.
It was clearing up the infections that he had in his mouth so that his breath was okay again.
There you go.
Cool.
Very cool.
I hadn't made that connection before. And it was because you were just talking about the myrrh and it just hit me that, yeah. Okay, go on about myrrh, sorry.
So myrrh is, in Chinese medicine, it helps to support the earth element of earth. So it's very grounding. And it's also considered to be has dry properties. So if you have a cold or your body suffers with phlegm or too much dampness, myrrh is a great oil. So if you're working with a Chinese medicine practitioner and they tell you you have a damp condition, this would be a good kind of medicine for you.
That's excellent.
So
anyone,
in the diffuser,
right? Or if you're congested, you've got a cold.
even rubbing it on, putting drops in your lotion and rubbing it on your chest, rubbing it on your skin, anywhere on your skin, your feet, wherever.
And what is myrrh? Where
Myrrh
does
is
the
from
oil
a
come
tree.
from?
It's very
Okay.
thick resin. You can't. Oh, am I holding it up high enough? I had a
Our
little
technician,
lesson.
yes, our technician will take care of
Darren
that
told
for
us,
us.
hold it up high, not down here. Okay. So you can't really see it on the camera, but it's extremely thick, and it's not even going to come out.
No. Mine's
It's
crystallized all around the
mine
top.
too.
Yeah.
I have to pour hot water to get my lid off quite often.
Yeah.
In fact, you can see I've tried to take it off with my teeth.
I've done the same thing.
It doesn't work. Just
No.
use hot water.
It doesn't work. My mother used to always say, that's what God gave you teeth for. Opening things. And then I
Opening
cracked a
things.
tooth trying to open up a maple syrup bottle one day and thought, oh, I don't think so,
Oops.
Mom.
Nope, not really.
Not really.
So bronchitis is another thing
Oh,
people use it
yeah.
for. A loss of your voice, laryngitis, anything in the mouth, the gums, throat.
So you could gargle with it.
You could gargle with it, absolutely. It's an astringent, good for chronic diarrhea and vaginal discharges.
Oh.
So I imagine I'd be careful. I think I'd want to experiment with that if you were. I think I'd be more likely to diffuse and rub on rather than...
Well, what about ingesting it?
Everyone has their own opinions about that, and depending on which school of aromatherapy you're in, some would say never ingest an essential oil, and some, that's what you do. So people have to just decide. I think once you do your research, don't just go reflexing to what you hear. Don't react. Oh, never. Like, go research it for yourself. I think that's the best way. That's what I have found when I'm helping people.
Right.
I give them books to read, and they make their own decision.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you don't know everyone's medical history.
Right.
Right. So, like some oils, if you have a seizure disorder, they're not the best oils for you. They might not cause a seizure, but they might not be as supportive as other oils would be.
Right.
So I always say, do your own research
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
I have not ingested, like in a meal, with my myrrh. I have put it in my mouth and rubbed it on my gums.
Okay.
So that's kind of a form of ingesting,
Yeah.
because you're using it on sensitive tissues.
Yeah.
But I haven't put it in a glass of water or anything. I've used it in a bath, put it in my Epsom salts,
Oh, okay.
and let the salts absorb it,
Yeah.
and then put the salts into the bath. I've used it in lotions. I've used it on my skin. I've used it in, my mom likes to make me these skin serums. And she's got frankincense and myrrh and rose and lavender and all these lovely oils. And then she brings me a roller ball with the oils with a carrier in it.
Yeah.
And I love to roll it on, and it's nice. So I've used it that way. How else? I'm just thinking.
So just as a quick aside,
Yeah.
when people think about essential oils, if they're not very familiar with the whole landscape of essential oils, they'll go to the main ones that we're most familiar with: eucalyptus, tea tree,
Yes.
lemon, lavender, maybe pine, rose, jasmine, patchouli. These are ones that are very common, they're just in our culture. We just
Yes,
know
yes.
about them.
Yeah.
Myrrh has a special history.
Oh, well, yes. It's in the story of the baby Jesus.
Yes,
right.
it is.
It was a gift brought by one of the gifts by the three wise men, and it's because of its strong immune boosting potential.
Right.
And so a baby that would have access to these oils would probably be in a royal family,
Right.
because they're hard to make and not everyone had access to them. But when they were used on babies, they would survive infancy,
Yeah.
less mortality.
That's right.
And that's why they were gifts to the baby Jesus.
That's
was
right.
Because that will help you live.
Exactly. It also supports the idea, one of the theories, that he actually was a prince. He came from a royal family.
Right.
We've humbled him in the Christian stories, but as a matter of fact, his resources were coming from a higher status.
Yeah.
It's one of the theories.
It is. It's great.
We don't know yet, but we'll find out eventually.
It has been, well, there's some really amazing studies being done in modern times with myrrh, and in vitro, which means in the little petri dishes.
Yeah.
They're finding that myrrh has a higher rate of killing cancer cells than frankincense does.
Really?
Yeah.
And frankincense, which is the next one we're going to talk about, is known,
Is
has
known
been
for that.
demonstrated to be
So
very cancer.
It's if you have cancer, you need to see your doctor, and
Of
you
course.
if I would do everything they told me to do,
Yeah.
to be honest, because there's that form of healing in modern medicine has come so far. But I would definitely support my body with all my oils.
Yeah.
Right? I'd be in my diffuser, I'd be ingesting them, I'd be using them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the wisest things I remember hearing you say, I invited you to come to a class that I was teaching. It was the Nature Essence course.
Oh, right.
And I had my student there, and I wanted
Yes.
her to experience the Young Living oils. And you told her, you shared everything about them, and you were talking about the medicine of them. And she said, "Oh, okay, so next time I have a headache, I'm not going to take my Tylenol. I'm just going to go straight to my oils." And you were so sweet. You just chuckled a little and said, "Do both.
Yeah, well,
Do both. Use the medicine that you're familiar with, that you know works for you or has worked for you, and equally work with the oils."
Well,
together.
Yes. And like if you have a headache and you don't, I'm just going to use your frankincense,
Okay.
because I have used frankincense for headaches, actually.
Mm.
And if it didn't work, I'd go get something else, though. I don't like to be in pain.
No, there's no point in being in
So I
pain.
take a drop,
Yeah.
put my thumb in it, and hold it on
Yeah.
my tongue.
Okay.
Hold on for a second. And I actually did this with the thieves' oil. When I first had my kit, and I looked up, I had an app book or something that said what to use for headaches if you wanted to try something, and it said thieves. And I'm like, thieves, really? And so I did that.
Yeah.
I did in my mouth, and I was lying there in bed because I couldn't sleep. It was a really bad headache. It's not working. It's my headache's gone. It was like that. It was so
Wow.
fast
Yeah.
because it's going straight through
Yeah.
the
roof of
blood-brain
the
barrier.
mouth.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to try that with Darren and his chronic headaches, and I'll let you know. I'll report back. In our
Well,
next
and some
episode.
you have to sometimes oils don't work for certain things because the root of what's going on is actually not what you think it is.
Right.
So
Yeah,
everything's complex.
it is.
Um,
but we'll try it.
Yeah,
We'll see.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
Why not? Because
not?
when I think of my mom, she was using so much ibuprofen, her kidneys were starting to fail. Like
Yeah.
her body couldn't take that much. And now using this, it's actually nourishing her system, not depleting it, and her kidneys have recovered. So
Yeah.
you have to learn for yourself. You have to become empowered.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have your own personal power and knowledge to make choices. So, when people are buying kits, they're always coming to me, oh, what do I do for this? What do I do for that? And I say, you need to learn.
Yeah.
Okay, here's some information. Go study it. This is what I would do, but I don't know if that's what you should do. I'm not a doctor. Go learn, and you can try.
Yeah.
And I've had people use things, and it works great for them. And then sometimes people say, I tried this, that kind of worked, but I ended up needing an antibiotic. Awesome. Go get your antibiotic.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Don't say no.
That's right, and this is what people will hear us say over and over again. We're not putting one or the other on a pedestal.
No.
This is literally about building
But
bridges.
have
and support.
choices.
Have choices.
Doesn't it feel good to have choices?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
That's what free will is all about.
You don't have to go to your doctor and get a prescription if you can keep yourself healthy
Yeah.
and not have to get to that point.
Exactly.
This is a way to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll share a story about Emily and her sinus infection in a little bit, but I want to jump into frankincense. This is our other oil for today. So frankincense is a tree oil. It comes from the Boswellia contrarii. I think that's how you say it.
Yeah, well, and there are several kinds of frankincense, and the one you're talking about is this specific.
That's right. That's
one
right.
here.
There's and Young Living also has a sacred frankincense that we'll share in another show. It's similar but different enough that it
There's
has
a
its own
third,
properties.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite amazing. The medieval French word for frankincense was olivandum, which means real incense. And one of the ways that people are familiar with frankincense, especially if they've had a church upbringing, is a Sunday service. When the priest comes down the aisle and he's doing the brazier, and that's frankincense usually that's in there. Sometimes it's also myrrh.
Well, I have frankincense resin that I purchased through Young Living
Yes.
that you burn.
You gave me
Not
some
the
of it,
oil.
yeah.
And you can burn, and it's quite lovely smelling.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. So it's been around for a long time from that religious standpoint. And at the spiritual level and the emotional level, it helps us to get centered and grounded. It's excellent for meditation. Breathing in the incense, the smoke, helps to put people in that receptive state. Maybe it also just kind of makes you a little sleepy, and that's why they do it so much in the church.
Well, actually, it doesn't really make me sleepy.
No?
I find I can diffuse it in my office when I'm working. It keeps me awake. It's a neurological oil.
Oh, so maybe it keeps people awake so that they pay attention to the church
Yeah,
service.
yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't make you sleepy.
Okay.
It impacts the brain in such a way that it really wakes you up, and you can have. It's a little bit like rosemary, where you have clearer thinking.
Yeah.
But it is very relaxing. It's grounding and clearing.
Right.
It's an
That's
interesting.
so if someone is in a really hyper state, working with the frankincense could bring
That's
them.
a great oil for kids, right?
Right.
When they're upset or if they have attention issues, adding frankincense with some orange oil is a wonderful thing. Like in a diffuser or into a lotion and rubbing it on their feet or down their spine.
Yeah, calms and clears.
Yeah.
Calms and clears. It's
Like
one
magic.
of the holy. It's considered to be a holy anointing oil, not just in Christian traditions, but in all kinds of
Yes.
traditions. In the Middle East, pretty much anywhere where people have had access to it, it's been used for spiritual purposes.
Yes.
It's also an immune booster,
Yes, it is.
cellular regenerative,
Yeah.
anti-inflammatory, powerful anti-inflammatory. And some of these same studies that we've been talking about have demonstrated the potency of frankincense as an anti-inflammatory above almost any of the other oils currently,
It's amazing.
to our knowing. So any kind of back rub, salve or ointment that you're making, sore muscle ointment, you'll want to have your frankincense in it for sure.
It's not a hot oil. You know, a lot
No.
of the oils that we use on our muscles can be quite hot.
That's right.
And that one's not hot.
No, this
it's
one's
not
not hot.
cold either. It's an interesting. It's
Cozy.
It's gentle. It's
Gentle. It is gentle.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a very gentle oil.
And maybe that's again why the draw for spiritual oil. because it has that gentleness to it. So we talked about the anti-cancer part of this, muscle relaxing, immune stimulant, antidepressant.
Right.
And there have been studies, again, that have been done to demonstrate that using frankincense in particular ways versus using Ritalin or Prozac or some of the other big name antidepressants.
Which isn't to say if you need those, you...
That's right. If you need them,
Then
you
you
need
need
them.
them.
And they
Do
can
them.
be really
Yeah.
powerful for short-term use. Frankincense has been demonstrated for long-term use to help with depression. You still have to do your work to understand what's underlying the depression, but this helps to support that. Takes the edge off. Takes the edge off. So also
and
infection.
you can ingest frankincense.
You can ingest it, just like you just showed us, yeah. And the fun fact that I had, that I wanted to share with everybody, is that frankincense, especially myrrh as well, were worth more than their weight in gold. And today, we are so fortunate to have access to these oils for minimal cost compared to what these used to be costing. And it's the reason frankincense was, again, one of the oils that was brought to the baby Jesus, because of all of the beautiful health benefits that it has, as well as the value, to demonstrate the value. What a beautiful gift.
What an amazing gift.
I know. One of the things I really love, and I hope we're going to continue to do in our series, is to educate people about what these oils, not only what they are, but where they come from. Because I know that when you shared that video, the CNN Pacific, Oils of the Pacific, I loved those videos. We'll put a link up for those as well, because I got to learn the story behind the oils, the personal interactions that people have had with the oils, the way that in some cases Young Living has brought these oils back for us from the brink of extinction, the plants that came from them, and to learn about the plants that they come from, to deepen my relationship with these oils. And I feel that way about them now. It's not just a bottle of oil.
It's like a friend.
It's a friend. I have a relationship with them. I like to go into my healing space.
Some people would grab their photo album if the house was on fire.
I grab my oils.
You grab your oils? Great.
I totally would. Well, there's thousands of dollars worth of oils in my healing space. I consider it an investment. I consider it an investment in my health, my well-being, my children's health and well-being.
You could change your whole day.
Absolutely.
Just one oil.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And to have it in your house.
Yeah.
Right? They, like lemon is sometimes called sunshine in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Just having, I don't know, names like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Beautiful. All right. Well, I think that brings us to the conclusion of our second episode.
Okay.
We've shared about frankincense and myrrh and a little bit of the history of the use of oils. What's coming up next? What should our next show be about?
Digestion. The digestion oils.
Yes. I love it, especially as we're about to head into feast time.
Yes.
Perfect. All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you for joining us on this episode of the Essentials Roundtable with myself, Megan Edge, my fabulous co-host, Susan Seal. And we'll be back with another episode, and we're going to share with you all about digestion. Who doesn't get a tummy ache every once in a while, or bloating, or any of the other things that happen?
Especially when we're eating too much shortbread.
Too much gravy.
Too
At any time during the year. So please join us again, and we're going to share with you all about the digestive oils. Thank you so much, everybody.
Bye for now.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Megan.
And see.